This screencast will be available on my blog, which is educator.com. And a quick introduction. Most of you, I'm Harnish. I'm the speaker for today's LAMP Amazon EC2 on Cloud T1 Micro instance. That's my contact info. So when Tish walked in, I was just talking about how when I put this slide together, and that time I had the title as AWS Cloud Computing. Actually, the word cloud has gotten so clouded by now. So I actually think of it as utility on demand computing, right? You want to use a box when you want it, and you want to only pay for what you use. That's utility computing. And an entire computer is available for you to do the things that you want to do. And if you can use that, that's what Amazon has done. It began as an in-house project back in 2004, 2005, and was released beta in 2006. Why? Again, they are virtual computer servers, on-demand computing, auto-scaling. So how many of you know the Zynga story, the Farmville maker and the Mafia Wars maker? So they had a presentation, and it was taken down it was on SlideShare. So these guys who have this enormous social traffic of Facebook users who are playing Farmville or Mafia Wars, they run their entire infrastructure on AWS. They don't have, at the time in September, they didn't have anything outside of AWS. Now, whether that's, at least it was that what was depicted in their presentation. So if they do 50 million uniques a day, and they scale up or down based on how their memory and their processors are being used, and it's a heavily engineered system, right? So there are people who are engineering that scaling. So again, this concept of utility computing is that kind of a paradigm shift that you can programmatically fire up things and fire them down and destroy them, so on. It's very good to automate repetitive tasks. You're paying only for what you use. And usually this comes bundled with, when you sign up for EC2, you are also signing up for S3, which is a storage service of Amazon AWS, which is the web services. So your AWS management console, and I will go into this, we'll do when I go into the demo. It's your central location to manage all your instances, to manage your boxes, to manage your storage. If you sign up for a relational database service, RDS, you can see it there. Beanstalk, which you were talking about, which is a new Java-based scaling, auto-scaling on that platform that's called Beanstalk. Again, a new entrant. They recently began something called Route 53, which is a on-demand DNS service. And again, they keep coming up with new things like that. So what are instances? Instances are basically computers. And what are the classification of these instances that Amazon has? It's on-demand, reserved, and spot. On-demand is you pay right now, you're going to pay a price as low as 8.5 cents an hour for a Linux box, and I believe 11 or 12 cents for a Windows box. A reserved instance is where you prepay for 1 year or 3 years the type of instance you want. So you can get a small instance prepaid for 3 years for $227, and then monthly your usage cost of that instance goes to as less as 3 cents an hour, which is about 30 bucks a month. So you can reserve either for 1 year or 3 years. The more you reserve, the price drops. Recently, Amazon came up with the concept of spot computing. So if Amazon, across its data centers on the West Coast, East Coast, Europe, or Singapore, if they have spare capacity, they want you to bid on the spare capacity. Okay? So a micro instance, which is the smallest instance that was released in August goes for 0.7 cents an hour, right? So it's about $5 a month. It's very inexpensive. Now, how many of you have an account on AWS? For those who do not have never started an account with your card on Amazon Web Services, you get a free micro instance for 1 year with bandwidth, and I will show you where that is and where you can sign up on that. So then I'll come to the instance types. P1 micro. At how many processors? It could go as much as two compute units processors, 613 megs of RAM. Starts off with a 10 gig storage, but you could vary that. You have an M1 small with one compute unit, one virtual processor, 1.7 gig RAM, 160 GB block storage. Block storage is not persistent storage, and I'll get to that also. And there are bigger and bigger instances, large, extra large, and all the M instances have denote the memory-based instances. So if you're looking for a very high I/O and processing power, you're looking at C1 and C1 medium, C1 extra large. If you want to go even further, they are giving something high-performance computing instances like cluster GPU instances. And these are more recent entrants, I think. So those are by configuration. Pricing. So as I said, that if you don't have something right now with Amazon, you can get a free micro instance for 1 year. This is what it comes with. 750 hours of running EC2 micro instance, 750 hours of elastic load balancing, 10 GB of elastic block persistent storage, 10 GB in, 10 GB out across all AWS services. This is a free tier available to anyone who does not have a box. Unfortunately, it was not available to me because I've been there for them for a while. This is your landing page for Amazon EC2. aws.amazon.com/EC2. You can find almost everything from here. You can find what's the pricing. Pricing across zones. So the cheapest mostly is Northern Virginia, the East Coast data center. Then you have the Northern California data center, Irish data center, and Singapore data centers. Okay, 4 different regions. So you can have your server depending on what you're trying to serve, who you are trying to serve. Again, that may have differences for, you might want, if you're serving Asia, you might want to be in the APAC region. If you're serving most people on the East Coast, you want to be on the East Coast. If more traffic on the West Coast, you want to be here.
A quick question. So is it possible to port AMIs across instance types? So if you create AMI on one type of instance,
if it's your personal private AMI, you can start that usually anywhere. However, so for today, if I'm going to start a machine that's a predetermined AMI, I'm going to start specific to that region. I'm going to pick US East, not US West. Because if I start a US West instance, it will start in the US West region. It's not going to start there.
So actually what I was referring to, if I create an AMI on a T1 micro instance, later on if I need more computing power or something, could I take that AMI and port it to a small or a...
If it's your own AMI that you create, I believe you can. Okay. Okay, so what am I going to try to do today? I'm going to try to install Ubuntu 10.10 from elastic.com. That's Eric Hammond's website. Anyone knows Eric Hammond? So again, he's a He's big into this whole Ubuntu on the cloud thing. His site elastic.com, again, very, very well known in the Ubuntu cloud community. I think he was the CTO of rent.com before it got, I think, sold. So we will start Ubuntu 10.10 on a Spot T1 micro instance. What is the drawback of starting a Spot instance? A Spot instance can go out on you at any time if the bid price is higher than your bid price. Number one. It can also shut itself down for no other reason than Amazon wanted it to shut down. And sometimes that Amazon didn't want it to shut down. So there's a very big risk if you're trying to run it on a Spot thing. But given that I'm doing a presentation here, that we'll just go with that. Spot instances are the cheapest instances also. So we'll install LAMP. We'll install phpMyAdmin. Install Drupal and WordPress. Bring them up, and I'll share the concept of what your public IP, public DNS is once you start up this. So if someone who's hosted on GoDaddy and you want to point your DNS to your server on EC2, I'll show you how to do that. Okay. Oops. For that, guys. So I'm going to sign into the AWS console. I'm going to go to the EC2 tab. Absolutely. Okay. So what we want to do is launch an instance. Okay. So here is where I want to install 10.10. I want to install a 32-bit instance. So I'm going to copy this. Elastic.com is Eric Hammond's website. He and Canonical, the maker of Ubuntu, have created a bunch of images to start up your server, essentially. And you have to use their AMI, which is Amazon Machine Image ID, to start up that server that you want. So I'm going to copy this from this community AMI. So this piece is already there. I'm going to just paste it there. So hopefully it'll just
Is it possible to charge for AMIs that you create? Like if you want to.
So there is the concept of private AMIs, right? So IBM, Oracle, HP, a whole bunch of people have that, and even Microsoft, right? So they are getting a license fee anytime you start up a Windows server. So should connect. takes a little while. Okay, found a image. It's an Ubuntu platform image. Select that. Okay, I don't care about the availability zone. This in itself is a concept that I can go into for another 30, 40, 50 minutes. Given that we are only running this as a standalone instance, I don't have any preference. Say T1 micro. Okay. So you could do a small, a high, which is a C1.medium. Do the smallest machine. I'm going to request a spot instance. Look at the current spot price. It's 0.7 cents. I'm going to give it a bid of 10 cents. Right? So hopefully it won't go off in the hour that we have. I'm actually running my blog, educator.com, on a spot instance since December 25th, and it has not gone down on me. Again, I've put the price as 10 cents. And again, it could go down, but I'm backing up my images every night. So if it does, then I will just bring it up. So I would leave these options as is here. I'm going to create a new key pair, and I'll tell you why this is an important step. I'm going to name the key pair demo test lamp. Okay, and I'm gonna create it, and it gives me a file to save. I'm going to save that file. It's saved in my downloads folder. Okay, this is very important. You start this up without the right key pair, and if you don't have it, your first entry into your machine will not be there. You won't be able to get in. Okay, so then you come to the security groups, and I'm going to go to the default security group after we spawn the machine, and I'll show you why I'm doing this. Essentially, a security group is where you tell what port is open to what kind of traffic. So my default security group has HTTP port 80 open to all traffic from anywhere in the world. My port 3306 for MySQL open to everyone in the traffic for every instance that I have. Okay, so that is something that is very good of Amazon, that by default everything is locked down. You create in the security groups how you want to unlock things. Okay, it could be a pain for novices. Why? Because you might not have created the right things, and you might not be able to get in, and you would be trying to break your head saying, hey, how do I get into my own instance? I'm getting an error, I can't get in. That's where those small things will matter. But if you have those things squared away in the default security group, you should be fine. Okay, this is the final screen. What kind of AMI? What type of instance? Availability zone. What is the max bid price? 10 cents. We will submit this. This might take about 3 or 4 minutes to spawn. So what this screen tells us is all my spot instance requests. It shows me what instances are active and what is open. So our newest request is still open. It will turn green once the machine is spawned. Okay. Any questions thus far?
So do you know how much storage you have?
10 gigabyte. You are starting a micro instance at 10 GB of blocks. It's elastic storage, persistent storage.
After you terminate the instance, does the EPS volume automatically go out?
So if you terminate it, it's all gone. While it is up, if you back it up, it's still with you. I will show you that as well. So while this is happening, I promise you I'll show you security groups. I have a few security groups here. The default security group. Ignore every entry other than SSH, MySQL, and HTTP. Okay, so I have SSH allowed from port 22 for every machine. This and if you had only one IP that you want SSH to be allowed, you would say 1.1.1. Whatever your IP was, /32. And that would make only that IP access SSH to that machine. Okay? So this security setting, so SSH, I'm open for everyone. MySQL, port 3306, open for everyone. And HTTP at port 80 is open for everyone. So this is my default security group.
Can you add anything else?
Absolutely. You can add, delete, you can take this off, and if I take it off, I can demo everything. You can take things off, you can put new policies in. That's the whole point of doing this.
What is RDP?
This is,
That's for like VNC or?
yeah, I mean, this is one of the settings that my buddy has done. So
If you said it's remote desktop, it's probably so you can drive.
that's not, no.
But 3389.
So is that remote desktop?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go with it.
What is a 0 after the /?
It's the classless inner domain registrar. It's the CIDR.
Good.
CIDR.
Does it support
Okay, we are up.
quick question? Do you know if it supports IPv6?
I don't think so. Not yet. We'll see in a second. So the machine is up, and the way to know it is I can refresh here. All three are active. This was the last one, right? And this is the key pair demo test lamp that I spawned it on. Do you see any IPv6 here? I don't see it, so no, it's not.
So when you say 10 gigabytes, that means the machine itself virtualized as a 10 gig like
Hard drive.
disk.
Hard drive. And I will show you as soon as I get in, I'll do a df-h. You'll see how much. So look at this. Public DNS, private DNS. So you were trying to say, redirect your traffic to your instance. You take that IP portion of it and put it in your A record to get to that.
Oh, so now I can just bring my domain that I.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
But
So
if they're not registered, you still need to have the domain name by register, right?
so yeah, you go to your registrar's domain panel and redirect traffic.
You still need an account.
Exactly.
And that.
Now you can do that. So you can have Route 53, the new service, do a dynamic thing, but I would stick with something like
So that public DNS is a
public.
It's static too. It's not like a DSL or whatever.
No. So for the life of your machine that it is up, you have that IP and that IP only. You shut that down, you bring it back up. No, you won't bring it up with that IP. You will bring it up with the IP that Amazon assigns you.
So that's a problem with the spot because they can take it down, right?
Yeah, but it's not only a problem with the spot. It can happen to an on-demand instance as well.
Okay.
On-demand instance could go face a shutdown, right? I mean, it's cloud, so there is no guarantees for anything, and that's the part that people have to engineer for these circumstances.
So that's when you use Route 53.
You could. There is elastic IPs. There is a lot of those concepts that, again, I'm not even going to scratch at this point. I'm going to keep working towards getting the box up to the level that we want. So now that we have this, I'm going to log into my machine. It's up and running. Okay, I'm in my downloads folder. Okay, this is the key that I downloaded. For the Ubuntu image that I associated my T1 micro, I need.
How'd you log in? I missed that.
I'm not logged in.
Okay.
I'm not logged in. I have the key pair that I created while instantiating this machine. I have to make sure that the key pair has only 400 permissions on that, or else only read permissions. So the login is here, SSH -I, the key pair, the user for these images, all elastic and canonical images. Bad idea. I need an @ Look. And we are in. Okay. Size 7.9 gig, it's 10 gig, but and you have use of 9%. And this is what it looks like, the machine right now, as it is. Okay? So I'm going to update this.
This counts against your traffic quota?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Everything I'm going to do here, if I'm downloading WordPress, if I'm downloading a PHP MyAdmin, all of that, anything that uses bandwidth, it's going against it. For the free tier, the amount of bandwidth that is included, Amazon thinks it is more than enough for a free year with the bandwidth that they have bundled with the free tier. Okay, unless, of course, you happen to do awesome traffic.
So then you have two instances. Then can you copy the file as well?
Absolutely. So you can SSH from one instance to the other.
So does it also cost the bandwidth?
Okay. Do you guys remember I said I don't have a preference for my zone? The question he is asking is, if he wants to copy data between two machines in Amazon, is there a charge? If you have two machines in the same US East 1A or US East 1B, if you are in the same zone, no charge. If you are in different zones, you are paying bandwidth in and bandwidth out. So those are the finer points of EC2 where you will be charged for bandwidth, you will be charged if you were in US East but you are transferring some data to APAC, you are going to be charged. Okay, cool, that's done. So now we install LAMP. Sudo task cell. Okay, that will bring up the control panel, installation control panel. I spacebar LAMP. I say okay. It will go get Apache PHP, MySQL server, and the client. Okay, asking me for the root password for MySQL. Can repeat the password. It's very secure. It's Hagnish123 for now.
So at the console setting, you can set this to only local host access, right? So to expose like MySQL or things that you want. Meaning, like, suppose you're running Tomcat on this and you want to lock down port 8080 just to the local host.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you would have
127.0.0.1.
exactly.
Okay.
So while that is happening, just copy that.
Just curious, why didn't you have to put in the entire public DNS when you were linking.
You could do that when you are SSHing in. You can do the whole public DNS.
But you only entered a portion.
I only entered the IP. I chose to enter only the
that's for
IP.
Okay.
So
And
you-
that's fine as well.
Yeah, so I could have SSH'd in with the entire public DNS or the IP. How do I know this is up and running? One way, go to the browser, obviously. Apache is up. Okay, another way. Apache is up, and so is MySQL. Okay, so let's see if we can log into MySQL. Okay, I'm in. Let's create a okay. Let's get phpMyAdmin. If I typed right, that would help. What do you want to configure phpMyAdmin with Apache, obviously?
You, before you only install the Apache and the MySQL, you haven't installed the PHP.
No, when I installed LAMP server, it installed PHP, it installed MySQL and Apache, all three.
What you do now? What are you have done now?
phpMyAdmin. I'm installing phpMyAdmin, an app, so that I don't have to do command line access to MySQL. If you, otherwise you should probably, if your database is already, you should refuse. Okay, no, I'm going to say yes. Administrative user. Love secure passwords. So let's see if that is installed. How do I check that? Okay. Okay, that's the phpMyAdmin table I created. And this is all the new schema that got created when I installed phpMyAdmin.
So you first, when you enable the LAMP the stack, you actually use some tools. So you also use the administrative tools to install the LAMP.
Sudo task cell. So yes, so if you look, look at this command, sudo task cell. This is what we went into the control panel of Ubuntu, where we selected LAMP as an option for installation. So this command installed LAMP. Okay.
So you have you recorded the screen of this.
Yes, I will be putting it up. Okay, so I want to now install WordPress. So if I have to install WordPress, I need to get, okay. To get a downloads directory going. And I'm going to do a wget So I just downloaded the tar file. That also cost me bandwidth.
Yeah.
Right, so every call that I made. So tar minus xv cf. Okay. And let's move this to file. Okay. This is something that you guys shouldn't do, and I should do probably the right way. Hold on. Only for this presentation, I'm going to do a make it easy and fast. chmod 777 on WordPress. Actually need a recursive. Okay, I need to nice. Okay. I'm going to create a WordPress database. I'm going to create a Drupal database. So okay, so I've created two databases. Okay. I could have done it right here. Okay. Okay, so WordPress is installed. I will create a config file. WordPress is my database name. Bad idea, but guess what? We did that. Okay. Localhost. Okay. And it's done. WordPress is installed. I'm gonna give it a lamp demo Bay-Area meetup. Doesn't think very highly of my security.
So to install WordPress, you basically just uncompress it and place it into the var folder.
Or you can keep it where you are, but then make sure that your Apache file redirects it to wherever that root of that is. So that's etc Apache to sites enabled 000 default is where that location is. I'm going to uncheck this, and it's done. So I am being asked to log in to my WordPress instance. Voila, it's done. I'm on WordPress on EC2.
WordPress is what kind?
Blog and CMS engine. Drupal 7. Okay, download Drupal 7. Some reason.
This is another CMS. This is another.
Yes.
Oh.
Copy link location. I'm going to cd wcat. Downloading Drupal. In the downloads folder. tar xvzf. Okay, Drupal. So I'm going to say move, sudo move, obviously. /var / okay. So let's see if that works for us. Take this. Take this. No, it won't. Anyone with any bright ideas there? -7.0. That is why it's not done. So if I renamed it standard, save and continue. This is another pane. Okay. So we need to be in. So it's telling me that I don't have site's default files. Had I given it the right permissions, it would have done that to me. See sites. Default. Getter files. Copy default settings. cp to settings dot php, and I think I need to give 766 recursively. Sudo chmod to the files folder that I just created. Now let's see if this guy likes me. Why does that not exist? I need writable permissions to settings.php too. Seems okay. Six. Okay, so far so good. What was this was, I think, Drupal. Username is this. I think it is the. Okay, let's try that. And it's installing Drupal right now. It's done. Now you should remove write permissions. I don't want to do this right now. I'll do it later on. Drupal. Probably not today. Drupal for Bay Area.
What was the question?
Would you go into the backup of this instance? How to LAMP. last time this did detect my time zone. Okay. Okay. Congratulations, you have installed Drupal. Is it your new site? Drupal is up and running. Now, I want to show you. See, Drupal has 74 tables that it created, installed. WordPress has its 11 tables that it created, installed on MySQL. And this is what you have an instance up and running with both WordPress and Drupal at the same time.
So you have to have those databases created and have installation?
Yes, because it asks you, right? It's asking you for, hey, what's the database name? What's the username into the database? It's asking you for that access to it. So if you create it beforehand, you don't have to scramble at that point. So that's why I pre-created it. Any questions at this point?
So can we see how many bits we have used so far?
Okay, absolutely. The question was how much space have we used up? Okay. df minus h. 9 to 13%, 4% more usage.
So it's not from a GUI interface.
This is the server.
Right.
This is the server OS. It does not have all the external and things like that. So there would not be that overhead.
So
Yeah, almost all servers that are operational don't run a GUI, right?
Except for Windows servers.
Right.
The Windows servers are you can fully RDC into a Windows box. 2003 server or the 2008 server.
So so it is easy to have a way to tell the user through the website or API to the user know, hey, you have used much amount.
Repeat that, please.
Because if I don't know how to type a command to see those,
So now I will bring up stuff that he's talking about. So what his solution, Media Temple, Right Scale, and those people do is exactly that. They are trying to put a GUI on top and abstract these things out. Now, I want to point out something else to you guys. This dang thing that you see, the AWS console, has evolved so much in the past few years. You would have to do a lot more command line things before you get to this point, even 2 years ago. Okay, I would have had to install EC2 API tools. I would have to install JRE containers and what have you to get to this point to start the installation. So Amazon is working as quickly as it can to make everything be driven from this AWS management console. Okay, but people like Scalar, RightScale, Wilastic, his company, they are all trying to abstract out that and putting a GUI on top of it so that it becomes easy to use. Rackspace Cloud, right? All that they are doing is, hey, they have a GUI before the actual box. Yes, that's the trade-off. That is the big trade-off here. Eventually, so on the flip side, so if you have a Windows instance, you would still have to do some things to start it up. Once you get that started up and once you get the password, administrator password, then you just RDC in. You RDC in and that's it. You don't have to do anything. But you have to get to the point where you can get the admin password. And I have not done the admin password, getting a Windows admin password in a long time. But before that, it was only possible on a Unix or a command prompt, terminal or a command prompt. Okay, so the API would return you a randomly generated password for your instance.
So if now you create a database and sometimes your instance may just break. So what you could do to preserve all the content?
Okay, So the next thing that I'm being asked, and I think you asked this and some other people also asked, how do I mean, I want to preserve this state of my machine right now. That's another advanced topic. So you asked this also actually, right? So I have a blog entry for that. Okay, it's on my blog entry, and the blog entry is this: how to back up and launch a custom EC2 Ubuntu machine. So essentially what you would do is the process of cloning it. You're going to clone your machine. You take this machine and you, through a set of EC2 API commands, you take this and save it to your S3 bucket. You remember you signed up for S3 when you signed up for EC2? You will take this machine, put it entirely in S3, generate an AMI ID for yourself. This is your personal AMI. Now remember, I want to actually go ahead and launch one machine, launch an instance. Quick start. There are 3 tabs on Amazon EC2. Quick start. Amazon's own instances, community AMI, which is where we found our AMI, and my AMI. So if I have cloned my machine to the state that I want it when it comes back up, I have put it in S3, the whole machine actually splits up in a bazillion files, XML files. So at startup, the API of Amazon is going to start reading that and bring the machine up. When you bring up a machine from S3, it's going to take some time because it has to compile that machine at runtime from that saving that you have done. And I could actually, this is one of my saved machines on S3 in one of my buckets. I could choose to start with that AMI. Okay, so I could say select.
So
I'm sorry.
So you also could start from this image by T1 micro.
Absolutely, it's a 32-bit image. As long as it is a 32-bit instance image, it will allow me to do that. Because no, actually, because it was not my original machine that I have cloned is a M1 small with a block storage. It is not an EBS storage one. So it does not show me micro instance. I cannot start a block storage instance as a EBS instance.
So how much is a free time user could use for S3? How much space?
Let's go to.
It's large enough to save the one MI or.
That I wouldn't know, but again, let's find out.
I think he says S3 big enough to save an MI. Yeah, you can S3 you can save as much as you want. Pay as you go.
Oh,
but he has to pay. He's saying that how can I do it for free with the free tier?
With the free tier.
Right. So hold on. Let's see how much do they give you. Okay, there is no S3 free.
Oh, S3 is not free.
Yeah, S3 is not free as a part of this.
Oh.
So if you choose to store something in S3, you will pay for use of S3.
But S3 is cheap.
So now there are tiers on S3. So there is reduced redundancy, and you'll pay less for reduced redundancy. There is standard, there is reduced, and there is one up, which is the CDN version, which is called CloudFront. So you can choose to have your content delivered from edge locations around the world if you're doing images and SWIFTs and things like that. So that's the 3 tiers of S3 for you.
I see. So another thing is basically when you start the machine, and there's 2 parts. One is any state related to this machine. Another is user part data. Actually, what you want to really store is the user part of data. You don't care about the machine state because they are essentially the same thing.
Maybe not. So in some cases, so a way to look at this is, so if I'm saving a lot of data, right? I have MySQL running on the same box as my web server here, right? For the one that we just started up. Instead, have an RDS instance. RDS is Relational Database Service of Amazon. You get MySQL, completely managed MySQL on their instance. It's 11 cents an hour. Oracle is getting there. I believe SQL Server will get there also. So RDS is something that you have storage that is persistent, backed up nightly or however you set it up. Okay? Now you only want to bring up the web piece, right? So if your web server died, you're only bringing up the web server and its code that was making it operational. Then your data is still on RDS. But you also want to bring up for your app all the connection params to your RDS instance. So the machine clone that you did should be as close to the app that you want running. Did that make any sense?
Can you do a delta with the 2 instances?
Which 2 instances?
Well, let's say you created one, and then with changes in a straight version 1. Could you do a delta to see what changes you
Nope. I don't know of a way. If someone programmatically has figured it out, again, it's not direct from the console.
Yeah.
Somebody who writes that kind of a system and first of all, why would you want to do that, right? I mean,
This is a diff.
sure, but the usual way is you clone one and you spawn everything from that cloned one, right? So you always have a start state which is common.
Can you have cron jobs in your?
Actually, I run several cron jobs, right? Again, it's a full root access machine to you. Any other questions?
And is that image available to everybody else, or just you when you say my images? The instance that you created and the middle tab where you said my image with it?
Yeah. So that instance, we didn't do anything with that instance, right?
That's only available to you, right?
Yeah, this is only available to me.
Okay.
It's my own AMI. Okay. And how to create that? That's on this blog entry. How to create your own AMI. Okay. So I can technically.
In those community images, how do you know if you trust those?
I don't know how to answer that question, actually.
Ask Google. Okay.
So see so how do you trust canonical with Ubuntu? I mean, it's as fundamental of a question as that, right? How do I trust canonical with Ubuntu? How do I trust Microsoft with Windows 2008? I mean, it's that kind of a question.
Okay, I understand.
So I don't know.
It's public, so it's not to be trusted.
I don't know if I would even go that far, right? I mean, that's probably an opposite end. Because, so I'll tell you this. The people who run I know several people who run their startups actually run on Eric Hammond's images of Ubuntu. I don't know what you're using. Are you using this to start your images? Eric Hammond. So
what's the difference? Has some other base stuff installed as opposed to Amazon's own?
Okay. So Amazon does not have any Ubuntu instances. Amazon has SUSE and its own Linux instance.
Oh, I see.
So it has Fedora. It used to have Fedora. I think it still does. Fedora, SUSE, and its own. If you wanted Debian, what do you do about that? You want Ubuntu, what do you do about that? So there are these other people who are experts in that community who have gone on and created AMIs specific to a region, specific to a machine type, specific to a 32-bit or a 64-bit type. And they have made it available as community AMIs for people to start up.
What's special about Amazon's Linux?
I have not tried that, so I'm not the person to. I can't
There's
answer.
also instructions if you want to make your own AMI. you can
There
do
is
that as well.
very good documentation.
From Ubuntu ISO or whatever ISO you want to use. It's a little bit more involved, but if you don't want to use a community one, you can go ahead and make your own.
So who is this Eric who?
Eric Hammond,
How do you spell it?
Hammond. Hammond. So you do use,
I started off with it and then I modified it.
yeah, but your base image is from elastic.com. So a lot of, I know my friends in startups who are using this for 90, 100 servers and so on. So
the benefit would be to tailor your own install package stuff, right? To create your own AMI.
you want to start with a base. I mean, I'm not going to write an OS, right, for this. I mean, I'll start with Server 2008 if I'm on the Windows world. If the Server 2008 has not installed SQL Server and the Visual Studio Pack, the whole IIS,
Right.
I would go and install those and make it live and store it as my AMI. So the next time I want to bring it up, if it's a web stack, next time I bring it up, it will have those things up and running when I bring it up.
Okay. So it's basically the equivalent of the OS image.
You got it.
You actually could, is it possible you could create another EBS blog volume and you store all your user data in the set another EBS volume?
So there is a concept of, so when I run out of 10 GB, what happens? That will answer your question also.
I mean, so I just use within the limit of the 10 GB currently because I just experiment things. So this creator actually create a 8 GB image or 8 GB EBS volume, and I can create another 2 GB volume.
No, you can't. So the way it works is you can add 5 GB EBS at a time, but that's not that simple. Okay, so if you start, if you want to attach a new volume, there is a process for that. Okay, so this is not as cut and dry as me explaining things like this. This is pretty straightforward things. Those are more advanced concepts. You detach, you stop this instance, you take this volume, start it, you want to bring it up, and
I mean, so I create a new EBS.
You create a new instance. You create a new micro instance.
No. I create a new EBS volume, another EBS volume, and I let the instance create another EBS volume. Then I can access. Say I have the instance will create 8 GB EBS. Then I create another 2 GB.
You can't do that piece.
Why you can't?
Amazon doesn't allow you to.
Is it possible?
Not 2. I think in 10 GB increments you can create volumes.
You cannot just create 2 GB.
Right, that you cannot do. But 10 GB increments you can. But you create a volume. You just don't create a volume, right? I mean, you have to do things. You have to attach that volume to this.
Yeah.
In order to create that volume, you need a machine running to create that volume, and you have to install EC2 API tools which will start that volume for you. Attach that volume then into your machine. So there is an involved process. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I see.
Right now this was all click and drag and things like that. That's not how it is for those scenarios.
But I saw some article from AWS. It shows that you just attach a new EBS to a learning instance. Looks like not very complicated.
Can you send?
I just saw.
Can you send the group the link for that?
Maybe
it would be very helpful to the group.
But I haven't fully understand the content. I just saw that it get an ID for the EBS volume thing.
Send it to the group.
Yeah, maybe I can
send it to the group.
Try to find out.
That would be awesome.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, I think we're good.
Going once, going twice. All out. So I will actually then show you how to kill this.
Actually, one more question. You never showed us, is there a way to actually monitor your bandwidth?
Okay, so basic monitoring is included in your machine instance. And if I can click right, that's this tab right there. CPU, disk read writes, network in, network out. Click on network in.
I can't read. What is it?
Value 546173 KB. 540K.
Please show your contact again.
I'll give you the. Okay, any more?
So you have high confidence in the micro instance of sustaining. Hasn't taken it down yet. Since when?
So I'm running a Spot micro instance, but I'm not saying that you all should be doing that. Mine has, one of my instances has gone down in 15 days, the other one has not gone down in 2 months. So no, if you're running something on production and critical production things, you better architect it right. And there are ways to architect it right. This is just getting you started up. Exactly. Going once, going twice, kill the machine.
So when you say it goes down, what do you, to bring it back up, you mean you have to create a new?
You start from
Oh,
scratch.
you start from scratch. Okay.
Unless you have snapshot backups. So every night, my instances that are most important to me, every night I have a cron from one of the machines that does snapshots of 15 GIB. Every night I have cron snapshots of my EBS volumes of 2 machines.
So it's on your blog, you have to install some EC2 tools.
API tools.
That's the one, right?
No, that is not this. This is not snapshot. That is cloning a machine, putting it in S3, creating an AMI out of it.
Oh, I see, okay.
This is just cloning, this is just snapshotting the volume.
Okay.
But is it easy to you just have a learning instance and you want to save the EBS volume when you terminate the instance?
How do I make sure that that happens? If Amazon shuts down on me right now, how do I make sure that the snapshot happens before the shutdown?
Not a snapshot, I mean the EBS volume.
How do I make sure that that happens?
Yeah.
How?
Could you just save? Because EBS...
Not that I know of. Because, see, when Amazon shuts off a resource, I'll show you how the shutdown, how abrupt is the shutdown right now.
I
There's
mean...
an
can't let
API
them
called
call you.
unhook the volume from the instance, but at the EBS, not in the GUI, but through the API,
Uh-huh.
so that you can terminate the instance and you can keep the
No, so if there was an external event,
on an external event. Right,
okay,
yeah.
if the data center got bombed, God forbid it, but if it gets bombed, or a tornado hits it,
Or Christmas.
what happens then?
Right, in the disaster scenario.
But
Act of God, right? That's an act of God, force majeure, whatever. What happens then? Right? So that event will be as abrupt as this event,
I suppose you could do a cron job that does incremental backups or something.
which is what I was showing, that's the snapshot thing.
But
But
could I manually to save it before terminate?
You can do continuous data protection, but that will probably cost a lot of bandwidth.
exactly. So
Well, no,
what kind of DR are you looking for? That's a different topic by itself, right? I mean, what are you looking to accomplish with what kind of storage?
So you want RDS basically is to
That's
make
just
sure-
MySQL data.
Yeah. That's
But the machine state, if someone wants the machine state as is, then what? Then, I mean, how periodically are you going to save the machine itself?
This looks like weird because EBS is kind of persistent concept, is it right?
Hmm?
You have 2 pieces. One is learning instance, which is not persistent, and the EBS is persistent. If you terminate the instance, it should be some way to keep this in.
Oh,
What are we
wait.
talking about? EBS. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, EBS.
What does that mean?
EBS is persistent.
Persistence instance for the life of the instance.
No, but you can,
It's
he's
tied to
right, you can manually unhook it so that when you do shut it down.
Exactly.
it's
So
persistent.
that happens right now, right? I mean, volumes. These are the volumes that I have. If I've snapshotted those volumes, right? I have chosen snapshot. I keep 2 day snapshots. Yesterday and day before yesterday. I can choose to keep as many as I want. I mean, I'm using up storage on that. I can choose that. However, EBS, the concept of EBS is if I have not done, this is a Python program that my friend wrote for me to enable this to happen. But I just started this volume. We installed a bunch of stuff. I'm going to kill that instance. My EBS volume is not saved because I did nothing for it.
EBS is not persistent.
It's persistent. But in the GUI, it's going to go away. If he does it right now, so there's
You
an
terminate
API
it.
call to unhook those 2 things separate from the snapshots.
So I'm going to terminate this, right?
Don't use micro instance, that's all.
No, any instance. This is true of any instance. Look
In
at what
machine
happens here.
learning instance, no?
Look at what happened there. The system is going down for power off and it's killed. If an event like that happens, if you have not saved your EBS volume, you're done. The machine is gone. It was in ether to begin with. It is lost in ether to end with.
You can't sue Amazon?
So
For what? And for what? Right? I mean, that's the point.
finger check?
So what's the way you type shut down in the company?
That is shutting down the native machine. That is only shutting down Ubuntu. That's powering off Ubuntu.
But you don't get this abrupt shutdown on the small instance, right?
Every instance,
Any instance?
can be shut down or terminated.
Even the C1 level.
Every one of them, because that's how utility computing works.
Well, no, I mean, through that act of God, I can understand, but Amazon wouldn't.
All you
There's no
need is a
guarantee.
hardware guy like me in your computer room. I've knocked down worldwide computers many times.
Yeah, I know.
Hardware guy.
Okay,
So Amazon wouldn't voluntarily shut its C1 down, would it?
okay, so Amazon could be hit by a spike in its own capacity.
Yeah.
What happens then?
So you mean none of those instances are guaranteed whatsoever?
In that sense, no. But in the sense of engineering, people who, if say one or two machines go down, your app has to be written in the way that it will bring up another instance similar to what you had and will spawn it in the cluster and will continue your business. So that's the engineering pieces of it. Do you as a one person bootstrap want to do it? How much fault tolerance do you have? That's that discussion.
So in the United States, there's only 2 geographic locations.
Yep. One here and one in Virginia. So let's see what's. It's all gone. Does not exist.
Okay. I think we're good at this point.